Mistra Future Fashion is a consortium project all about creating systemic change for the Swedish fashion industry. The Swedish government, consumers and businesses are increasingly concerned about how global fashion is damaging the environment. This visionary consortium brings together 8 projects from Sweden, Denmark and the UK to research ways to bring about green and profitable change for the fashion industry. TED's project is called New Design Processes and is all about informing and inspiring textile and fashion designers to create really innovative products. As a way to explore and communicate sustainable design, TED researchers developed TED's 10. TED's 10 are strategies for creativity inspired by sustainability. For the Mistra Future Fashion project, the team will take the 10 further. Through a series of research tasks, they aim to develop bespoke design strategies for a range of Swedish stakeholders. TED researchers work by devising workshops and creative learning experiences to guide designers through the prototyping process. Some people are already designing great things. How can we learn from them? What makes the Swedish fashion industry tick? What design strategies are they using for it? This site will be workspace developed especially for researchers, designers and consumers. Stay with us and watch the seed grow.
Systemic change needs a radical rethink as well. And this project, ASAP, is actually looking at almost counterintuitive, looking at a very speeding up fast fashion. Most of the consumption of fast fashion is young female consumers who are buying clothes cheaply. There's a plentiful supply of it, and it's continuous and it's growing. And their approach to it is, one in which either they ignore the environmental consequences of that, or they're made to feel guilty about it, but they seem to still continue to do it. And what's more, the new emerging economies across the world are joining in too. So this is actually increasing and speeding up. What happens if we try and find a material, invent one, design one, that doesn't have the same consequences that the fast fashion problem's causing? If you can use a material only once and not wash it and dry it, if you can have a material that at the end of its life you recover elements of and actually continuously use in a cycle, if you have a material that doesn't cost a great deal in pesticides and energy and transportation in the growing period, in the supply of the fibre, maybe you can come up with something, maybe, that will actually allow a constant, continuous consumption, but that actually has credentials that wouldn't damage the environment. If we're going to do this, and it's going to be a new kind of garment with a new kind of pattern of consumption, we need a new kind of approach to all the stages of it. So we're looking at all the big developments along the supply chain and saying, how is it going to be best designed so that it can be taken up by the biggest of industries? And if this is a profitable opportunity, then it's much more likely to be successful.
So in general, there's a disconnection between the textile designer and the supply chain.
and the people working in the supply chain. We both went off into China together, and so we gathered the same primary research, didn't we? We did the same field research, but then we've come back and interpreted that differently in our own ways. So even though both Becky and I work with different materials, I work more with the naturals and Becky works more with the synthetics, we both used a jacket that was found that we found in a Shanghai market as the sort of base garment design.
And the two jackets fit into the two materials cycles, the man-made and the natural. So Clara's fitting into the natural and mine fitting into the man-made and the polyester. We realised that textiles is our language.
Yeah, so the idea of the workshop with the factory workers was that we, even though as actors in the supply chain, we're both quite disconnected from each other as textile designers over in Europe, and they're these garment factory workers in China, there was this very unique opportunity to be in the same room together and to, even though we couldn't talk to them with language, we could communicate through us teaching them a very simple textile print process.
And a sense of teamwork too, so making one product together sort of made us feel maybe slightly more comfortable with the questions which were about how, what is it like to work here, what's your life like, what are your friends like, what do you like about the job and what don't you like, or what's difficult.
There's an idea for us as a designer, how can I design textiles or garments that support them to become more whole and become more flourishing, I guess, in their work life.
What could we bring that other people can't bring, and is there a point of connection and a point of warmth that could come from the textiles, from the making, from the materials, from the shared language.
Well, I think I chose weaving because that's what I know, That's something I'm really passionate about. And maybe if Sweden didn't have that many weavers, and I wasn't a weaver, I probably would have chosen a different approach. But I kind of saw what I have and what Sweden has, and then something I don't like. Well, I wanted initially to try to get my hands on the Swedish cellulose fiber to weave with that. But then I did some reading and I got kind of scary numbers of Swedish textile consumption, and at the moment there are no textile recycling systems, no fiber regenerating systems in Sweden, and most of it is being burned at the moment. I sent some emails to some good old friends back in Sweden, and they sent me one garment each that they didn't use anymore, that they didn't like or was broken or ripped or whatever. And I looked at rep weaving, which is a Swedish way of weaving which covers most of the weft, which is the clothes. And it was used in Sweden 200 years ago to really make use of the very last scraps of textile waste in the household. I wanted to come up with an idea and a service that would create new textiles in Sweden by using all the textiles that are being burned at the moment. The ideal scenario that is kind of far away is that you'd connect all these weavers who are already registered to a big database, and the consumers would have this garment, and they would it would be pink, and then they would search for material and pattern and color, and weavers have registered their warp, and you could be able to make different projects and find your weaver, and they'd be sent back to you.
Everyone's got warm clothing of some form. Everyone has jumpers really, and a lot of us have had that kind of point where your jumper gets a hole, or you've kind of unmade it in some way or form, and you need to kind of know how to remake it, and actually know that you don't need to be able to do it to a point of making it exactly how it was before, that you can use the remaking and the making of it to give it kind of more personality, or your own personality, some kind of customization. It's about understanding where our things come from, and what the kind of material value of them is. In a way, as a material, we've kind of broken it to make it into this yarn. So these kind of pieces, they will always have started out as a kind of dirty, muddy, greasy fleece from a sheep, and we process it a lot to get it to this point where we want to wear it. And so I started thinking about how do we repair materials back to their original selves. So you have the kind of almost like the factual repair kit, which you need your needles and threads, and you might need a crochet hook, or you might need knitting needles. But then you kind of have like a conceptual repair kit as well, where actually if you were kind of trying to unmake this back to its original self, then you kind of need to reverse the process, where you can kind of start to shred the yarn a little and actually take it back to its kind of more sheep-like origins. I think it's that kind of independence with the things that you own, with your possessions, is really important, that you feel like they're yours and you can do what you want to them, and you can make them how you want to make them.